The Illinois political landscape changed last year with redistricting. New legislative maps meant representatives who once served in one district must now run for election in a new district. Dr. Paul Jacobs, who previously served in the 115th district, is now in the 118th. Dr. Jacobs faces a primary challenge from Aaron Smith, with the winner likely becoming the district's next representative, since there is no Democratic candidate. Tonight, we give you a look at the two Republicans running for that seat. Dr. Paul Jacobs and Aaron Smith are both longtime Southern Illinoisans. Both are married with 4 children. Dr. Jacobs is an optometrist who also owned a local winery before selling it a few years ago. He says one of the biggest lessons he's learned from being a businessman is balancing the budget.
Every month for almost 50 years of budgets. So that in itself, I think, is a huge thing to bring. Quit spending when you don't have it, and spend when you do have it, but spend it correctly.
Aaron Smith is a former high school teacher who returned to college, got his MBA, and started a construction business. He says a company motto has served him well over the years.
Stop describing the problem and start solving it. And I believe that we have too many politicians down here who do a great job of describing the problems in this state, but do a very poor job of addressing those issues and solving them.
Dr. Jacobs was first elected as a state rep in 2020. The Navy veteran says in his first 2 years of office, he built relationships with lawmakers on both sides of the aisle in order to get bills passed.
We're very proud of what we've gotten done. I mean, we've been able to get a catalytic converter bill passed, and that people don't understand how important that was, but it's extremely important. We were able to get the trailer bill passed, and these are bills that I was either sponsor or co-sponsor to. Actually, I was co-sponsor and sponsor to 59 different bills that passed. So we get it done, and that's what you can't replace unless you've had a couple of years there.
Smith believes his background gives him an advantage when dealing with business and educational issues. He says running for public office is not something he rushed into, but feels it's something he has to do.
With the state that our state is in, and with my 4 kids peeking around the corner at what they're going to do when they get out of high school, for the first time, instead of asking what happens if I do that, I started asking what happens if I don't? What happens if people like me who are invested in this community, who are from here, who have a company here, who have kids here, what if we don't step up and fight to keep our kids here, to keep our state reined in a little bit and healthy enough that people will want to come here? And so that became the flipping of that question is what took me from the sidelines to jumping in to try and fight for us.
I asked both men their 3 priorities if elected. And here's what each had to say. We start with Dr. Jacobs.
The first thing that we really have to do is have to have a truly balanced budget. We can't depend on billions of dollars from the federal government. It's not going to be there this year when we do it again, or next year when we do it again. That budget is so important to quit spending. They have gone from $35 billion in 2017. So 5 years later, it's now $46 billion. That's $11 billion more that have just spending. We have to quit spending. So that's one of the priorities, is to put that in order. That's, I think, the number one thing for the health of the state. Number 2 is probably the SAFETY Act. The SAFETY Act is probably the least safe act that's ever been passed. There are 4, 5, 6, 7 things in there that are good, but it was just jammed down the 101st's throat, and it's 800 pages, and they got it the night before, which is pretty typical. And so we've been trying, like anything, to make trailer bills on that to change some of the bad things. For instance, one of the good things that you talk with almost any of the police officers, they're fine with body cams. The body cam, it doesn't bother them, and they're relatively affordable. They can put those into budgets, but you have to store that in the cloud forever. You know, as long as that is an active case, or in murder cases, I mean, how long do you store it? That's the cost. Those are the things that have to be changed. We are looking, both sides are looking at what to change, and I think both sides have come up with the idea that maybe we should repeal it, but I think they won't do that. I think we're going to have to come up with more and more bills to try to straighten it out. And if we do that, that's fine. And then, of course, the last thing is still protecting the unborn for me. I mean, I had 4 bills for protecting the unborn. I'd like to see them get through, or at least partially through.
Education is one. We are under constant attack as parents from Chicago agenda-driven curriculum, and I will fight against that. I was a high school history teacher, so when it comes to issues related to history, when it comes to, my wife is a second grade teacher, when it comes to issues related to what we'll call generically health education, right now, I go with a lot of experience and really want to push against that. Second is safety. Our men and women of law enforcement have been pushed around, have been disrespected for too long in this state. The Safety Act made it even worse, and that's one of the reasons that the Fraternal Order of Police for the state of Illinois endorsed me in this race, because they believe that I'm the person who can help push back against that agenda. And then lastly, I'll put them together, safety in schools. In light of even the tragedy last month, I am committed to pushing legislation that would put armed law enforcement in every school every minute that they are open. It's a risk that we can't afford to run anymore, to not have our kids protected in our education system.
Smith says when it comes to school safety, he would look for more mental health options.
Certainly, mental health is a crisis nationwide and certainly in our state. And so we have a facility in Shope Mental Health in Anna that is completely underutilized. There has never been a better time for a representative from here to go to Springfield and advocate to expand that facility, to use the underutilized space that they have, and to make a big advancement in mental health in this state.